Hello and welcome to our Freebie Friday video. It's Shade again. Today we're talking about we've been told to discuss the main things to look out for as a buyer when you're purchasing real estate. So usually most buyers will go through a title company when they're purchasing, and some buyers don't if they're buying cash. So in order to feel comfortable making an offer or closing on the transaction, I would think that you want to think about three different categories of things to look out for. The first category would be ownership issues. The second category would be any deed restrictions to use and enjoyment of the property. And then the third category would be things that are attaching themselves to the property in a negative way, like judgment, liens, and maybe city or code violations or county code violations to the property. So what are these things, and what do they mean, and how do you find them? The first part you can find out by approaching the county clerk in the county where you're about to buy the property, and the county clerk would be able to tell you who is the owner of record usually. Sometimes that's not absolutely accurate because there might be a court order out there that was never filed into the property records that is actually that's going to trump what's in the property records currently. Now, if the person that you're dealing with is not the name on the deed records with the county, then you need to ask more questions. That's all that means, until you can find out how to clear their name into the ownership record. Then they can convey the property to you. They can sell it to you. If there are errors, they can do that by taking some steps that they have to follow. The second category of things would be the deed restrictions, and those are usually attached to the land itself, and sometimes they're through the homeowners association, and the documents are always filed into the property records as well. So ask the county if they can find any deed restriction documents against that piece of property that you're interested in or the community where it resides, and they'll be able to pull that for you. And you can look at that to make sure that the kind of use that you have in mind is not going to be a problem. Because say, for instance, I'm buying the property and I also have a mobile home that I would like to park on my property, and the deed restrictions say that I'm not allowed, nobody's allowed to park mobile homes in that community, then I'm going to be screwed when I buy property in that area. And also, if you're trying to do a business from home, make sure that the deed restrictions do not prohibit against that kind of business or prohibit against business period in that area. So you have to kind of know ahead of time what restrictions are there and how they would affect you, or if they would affect you at all. Last but not least, call to the city or county. They have regulatory agencies out there that would be able to tell you if they issued any code violations against the property or property owner that have not yet been cleared up. You want to know what those violations are. For instance, some people would build on their property like an addition in the back of the property without getting a permit first from the city or county, and that would cause problems in the future, because once the county finds out, then they will issue a fine or of some sort. So you want to make sure that that owner that's selling to you is the one that takes care of those things before you buy. Sometimes the owners don't know. They have to fill out a seller's disclosure form whenever they're selling to you usually, but A, not everybody does that, and B, sometimes people are not honest when they're filling out the form, and C, sometimes they're just ignorant of the fact that they have these violations out there, or that there's something that was mailed to them that they never opened the mail. So just ask a lot of questions, and whenever in doubt, go to the third party like the county clerk or the city or county, and check with them to see whether they issued any notices or fines against this property, and then ask the person that you're buying from all these questions to make sure that they clear those things up. If there are judgments and liens out there, that seller is supposed to clear them up before selling to you, so that they're not attached to the property when you're done buying it. But if there's a title company involved, like I said before, the title company will pick up on those. So if you're doing a big transaction, it's worth it to get a title company involved so that they can do a search for you. Sometimes they can do a limited search without issuing a title policy, and those are actually pretty affordable. They're usually about $300, so it's well worth it to pull that at the very least, and that will show you owner of record, as I said, and it will show you any judgments and liens and deed restrictions. So it pretty much covers all those three things, and it might be well worth it. And if you're really thinking of buying residential property, it's worth it to get an inspector involved so that they can also take a look and write you a report and tell you what things might be going on with that property, because you cannot really take the word of the seller for it when it comes to these kinds of transactions, because they're big transactions, and sometimes the sellers really just don't know what's going on. So that's our tip for you for today, and we will talk to you on the next video next Friday, and hopefully you're enjoying this weekend. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, continue to send them, and I'll continue to do the videos for you. Happy Friday.